Hey everyone, and welcome to Imagine Spotlights. We're here today on behalf of the ADA and Beyond Type 1 Collab to continue with this awesome interview series. Every week, all throughout Imagine Camp, we're chatting with an inspiring person living with diabetes. They'll be sharing their experiences and insights with you and help show us all what it means to live beyond our diagnosis, and also how important it is to get connected and find community with others affected by the disease, which, after all, is why you're all here, why those of you who are watching from home are watching today. My name is Todd Boudreau. I'm the Director of Content at Beyond Type 1. I have also been living with Type 1 diabetes for over 20 years now. I just had my 21st anniversary. So when I was diagnosed, I was using an older form of insulin. I was using syringes. I've since used smart pens. I've used pumps. I've used Cgms. I've kind of been through it all. And I'm super excited about who I get to speak with today. She's a very talented young woman coming fresh off the heels of a run on American Idol, I think. But I'll let her tell you a little bit more about that. I'm going to be interviewing Ava August. Ava, welcome. Do you want to take a second to introduce yourself?
For sure. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. I always love sharing my story to other type 1 diabetics out there, if it can make them feel less alone. But yeah, I was diagnosed back in 2009. I've had it for going on almost 13 years. And I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been singing since I could talk. And I was recently on American Idol. I made it to the top 10. It was a great experience, and I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about my story.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for speaking with me today. You said you were diagnosed in 2009, so you must have been really young when you were diagnosed. How old were you?
I was I believe I was 3 going on 4, because my birthday's in August, and I remember it was July. It was right during the summertime when I was diagnosed, so I was almost 4. But yeah, it was a crazy
So
journey.
do you actually remember that? Because I don't remember like anything from when I was 3 or 4, except I kind of remember this earthquake that happened. So I feel like if something big and traumatic happens, you might actually remember it from that age. Do you remember anything about your diagnosis?
Well, what's crazy is I remember a lot of it. I remember I actually remember almost the feeling like before. It was kind of anytime before the diagnosis is kind of a little bit blurry, vague in my memory. But when I was diagnosed, I remember this one time my friends and we were all like, playing on this tree, and I kept going back into my house to like use the restroom, and I was eating a lot and drinking a lot of food and drinking a lot of water. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. I remember when my friends and we were all on this tree, and we were playing outside, and I kept going back inside my house to use the restroom, and I kept eating a lot of food and drinking a lot of water. It was not a good time. And I remember going to the hospital and getting the news and the 3 days. So I can remember a lot of it.
And I remember when I was diagnosed, my uncle, my mom's brother, has type 1 diabetes. So that was like the one person we knew who had diabetes. Yeah. I was 13 years old when I was diagnosed, probably just a little younger than you are now. And I called him right away. Do you know if your parents knew anyone, if you knew anyone else living with type 1 diabetes at the time of your diagnosis?
Totally. Yeah. I actually didn't know this until after several years of my diagnosis, but a lot of people on my dad's side of the family have a history with type 1 diabetes and autoimmune diseases. I believe my dad's uncle had type 1. My great grandfather had type 1, and different people, in my family have had it on my dad's side, which is unfortunate, but it makes you kind of think there might be some genetics involved.
Certainly, yeah. We do know that there is a genetic component. I have it in my family. You obviously have it in yours. So So we're speaking today, and we've got a bunch of campers watching us. The first time I ever went to diabetes camp, I was like 32 years old. It was 2 years ago. I went to an adult camp put on by Beyond Type One
Yeah,
with this Canadian organization, Connected in Motion, which was so much fun. But I never got to go to
wow.
camps as a kid. Did you
Yeah,
ever go to diabetes camps, or did you have kind of a diabetes community? Do you now?
yeah, totally, 100%. I actually, back when I was 7 or 8 years old, I actually never went to a diabetes camp, and so that's why I love what Beyond Type One and the American Diabetes Association is doing, partnering up together, having this camp. It's amazing, and I wish that I had something like that when I was younger, and just having a community, where we all share, the same kind of thing, which is type one, but we can all uplift each other. And so I think it's super cool that I didn't have any camps when I was younger. Yeah.
It's so funny for me to hear you say like, "Oh, back when I was younger," because to me
I
you're
know.
still very young, and I think you're actually still in the age group for an ADA Imagine camp, because
Yeah,
I think they go up until maybe 16, 17. But
for
that's
sure.
that's yeah, that I think that what they're doing is so great. I think community is
Totally.
super important, and
Yes.
I do want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about your singing career. And let's start
Oh
here.
yeah.
When I was diagnosed with diabetes, I was entering high school. I was really excited to play sports. And I remember the first thing I asked my endocrinologist was like, "Oh no, does this mean I won't be able to play sports anymore?" Of course, I learned quickly, like, no, you can still do everything. You'll be able to play football. And I was so relieved at the time. You've
Totally.
lived most of your life with type 1 diabetes. At what age did you decide you wanted to go into singing and become a performer? And then did you ever worry maybe that your type 1 would get in the way, or not allow you to
Yeah.
achieve your dreams?
For sure. That's a great question. I've been singing since I could talk. Before my diagnosis, there's videos of me on my parents' little flip phone of me singing around the house. Anywhere that I could, I would just be, opening my mouth and singing just some random tune. Who knows what it was? But yeah, I really started to sing when I was probably around 8 or 9 years old. And it started with just, performing the national anthem at local sporting events like opening day soccer ceremonies or basketball ceremonies, anywhere that I could. And, I had type one, during that time. And I even noticed just from the first time that I had like a real performance in front of a bunch of people, how definitely adrenaline and excitement can totally alter your blood sugars, and you have to be really on top of it, just like you'd have to be for a soccer game or a baseball tournament. And kind of right during that time, that was when we kind of realized that, oh wait, this, you have to be on top of it during this time as well while you're singing. And there were definitely a few moments, just throughout my career of a few years of just doing music and pursuing my passion, where I've had to really be on top of just managing my blood sugars, and just realizing like, oh my gosh, I do have to have a little bit more preparation than other people, going into certain things, because your blood sugar is going to get out of whack. And I've had moments, definitely, and I think all diabetics can relate to this, where you feel kind of like, I wish I didn't have this. But I think it's coming to that realization that, I have this, it's only a part of me. And it kind of makes you stronger. And I feel like a lot of probably diabetics can also relate to the feeling of having to grow up a lot sooner than the people around you and the kids around you. And I think it's just made me stronger having to deal with that, with performances and everything.
Absolutely. So you said you've noticed that your blood sugars have gone up when
Yeah,
performing through the adrenaline.
totally.
Do you check on your fingers? Do you wear a CGM? How do you know?
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely changed over the years with just how I've managed it. Before I was taking shots and just pricking my finger on one of those little CGMs. And now I wear the Dexcom sensor, the G6, and I wear the Omnipod. And yeah, so right now I just kind of look at my phone. Sometimes I'm a slacker. I need to probably calibrate my sensor a lot more, but I just check my Dexcom.
And do you have your parents following you? Do you let people follow
Yeah.
you? For the longest time I didn't let anybody follow me.
Yeah.
And finally I broke down and I was like, okay, I'll give it to my sister, but I still am hesitant with my mom just because I feel like she'd be checking in all the time on me. I know it's
Oh
different
my
for
God.
you. You're still living at home, but who follows you on Dexcom, and do you have to
Yeah.
set up any rules about like when they're allowed to bug you with that or not?
Totally. I mean, it can get kind of annoying when you've got like all these different people kind of buzzing you and just like, hey, check your blood sugar and all this. And it's like, I know, mom, I know. But my parents both follow me on Dexcom. And I feel like especially during like the summertime, I set my ranges a little bit like higher just so, it's not like constantly beeping if you're a little too high, because the summertime, you don't want to be super low all the time because that's not good either. But definitely it can get kind of, a little annoying when everyone's like, check your blood sugar, your phone's beeping. But I've managed it a lot better just over the years, and knowing, how my body works, how, what happens at night. And so usually the alarms, they haven't been going off very, very much, pretty
That's
often.
great
So
news. Do you
yeah.
change the alarms when you're performing?
I no, I'm not that sly with it all, but usually I feel like it's always either probably me going low during the performances when I'm like overdoing it with like I'm not like taking as much insulin or taking too much. I usually run higher, so it's always kind of going off when I'm low.
Got it. So I feel like we've kind of buried, the most exciting part of the interview here, which is your professional career. You casually said, like, at a young age, you were singing the national anthem at sporting events, made it to the top 10 of American Idol. I'd love to hear how that all happened. I think you were also on The Voice previously. I mean,
Yes.
it's so many exciting things that you've got
Thank
to
you so
do
much.
already at such a young age. So walk
Thank
me
you.
through, I guess, American Idol. How did that all happen?
Totally. Yeah. So to be honest, from my experience on The Voice, I was a little apprehensive on doing American Idol just because, I saw, what it was like to be on one of those, reality singing shows, but it turned out to be one of the best things I have ever done. And basically, I was posting a bunch of covers and original songs on my social medias. And a scout for American Idol saw one of my videos and they direct messaged me on my Instagram, and they said, hey, would you be interested in doing a little Zoom audition? And it doesn't mean you have to do it. Just if you want to, it would be a great opportunity. And so I thought about it for a little while, and I was about to not do that Zoom audition, and luckily I did. I did it. And I sang a few songs, and over the course of last summer, it was kind of this gradual progression of just kind of doing these Zoom auditions for more and more people who were higher and higher up on the show, until in August, I did my final Zoom audition for the executive producers. And then they told me, we love your music. Would you be interested in doing the real audition for Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie in San Diego in October? And right during that time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting real. And all my performances were shut down because of COVID. So I went to San Diego. I did the audition. I sang Neighbor Boy on the keyboard, which is an original, and they all seemed to love it. I got a golden ticket, and the rest is kind of history. It's been a crazy ride since then.
That's so exciting. This is gonna date me
Thank
a
you.
little bit. I am old. I remember on American Idol they used to have, I don't know, you probably know Simon Cowell as one of the judges. And
Yes,
he
of
was
course.
notoriously just mean to everybody. Is there
Oh my
still a
God.
mean judge, or were they all nice? What were
Oh,
the judges like?
all of the judges are really nice. I do have to say, I feel like I could connect to them all in different ways. With Lionel Richie, he's a big songwriter, and also, I mean, just all of them. They're so sweet. I feel like, I think another thing when you're on the show is you kind of realize that they're all just normal people. And in the beginning of the show, like in the first audition in San Diego, there's kind of this there's this kind of, just idea you have in your head about the judges, and this feeling like they're not real people, like they're, oh my gosh, there's Katy Perry or Lionel Richie or Luke. And it's crazy, flashback several months now in April, and you feel like you're just buddies with them. So it's crazy how it just changes as you go on the show.
And so you get the golden ticket, you progress all the way to the top 10. Are you performing original songs and covers? How many rounds was that? How many people
Oh,
were you performing in front of? Talk to me about the rest of that, and
for sure.
what was that like with, your diabetes?
Yeah, totally, definitely. So after my San Diego audition, which was in October, then it was the notorious Hollywood week. And it was a great experience, but that was probably the hardest time just managing my blood sugars because you were running on no sleep. You were constantly, figuring out a song. You got the celebrity duets, and I mean, you've just got all this stuff going on. So I was definitely running higher during that time. But I would run these temporary basals, these increased basals throughout the day, and I talked to my nurse, and we got this kind of structure down, and we changed a few of my basal rates. But it was a great experience doing that, and I met so many amazing people, and so after that, it just I kept going, kept progressing, and there are so many talented people, and so it was really an honor, and I'm so grateful that I got through Hollywood Week. It was very, there were a lot of tears, people crying, people were passing out. The ambulance was coming, people were like blacking out on the stage.
Oh
It
my
was a great
goodness.
time. Yeah, it was crazy. And so after the showstopper round, so for Hollywood Week, there were 3 rounds. There was the genre challenge where you sing a song from a certain genre. And then after that, it was the duet round where they blindly, pick a person for you to duet, which was crazy. And it was awesome. I got to duet Hunter Metz, and he's a great friend of mine now. And then after that was the showstopper round where it's kind of like this big performance with the band or no band. And I remember for the showstopper, I sang an original song, which was Ghost of You. And so that was my second original on the show. And I sang it on the guitar, and I didn't have a band backing me. And so that was very nerve wracking because everyone else had this big band, and I just wanted to kind of stick with what I felt comfortable with. And I wanted to kind of take a risk and just do an original. So I'm like, if I'm going out, I'm going to go out with original. So it was a great, great time. I got past that round, and then that was the top 24. And then after that, there was a big break. So that was like December. And then we all went back to CBS Studios, the top 24, which is in Hollywood, back in March. So there was a big break from December to March where I was just getting all these songs ready to go for coming back in March. And then in March, I had the Josh Groban performance, which was so amazing, so memorable. He's such a great guy. We sang Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. And then I also sang Driver's License, and I did all those other performances. That was all at CBS, which was crazy. But that was also very hard with the type 1 and managing it because I'd noticed my blood sugars, especially, I feel like I've never been that excited for something and nervous. So my adrenaline was just out of the roof. And so I was running these like increased basals 6 hours before the show. And I would still get that post spike, but towards the end, I started to really just kind of nail it with just knowing what to do. Like, oh, I'm not going to let you, go high after. I know what to do now. But it's all definitely trial and error for sure. Definitely. That's one thing I learned throughout the experience.
And did you have any of your devices visible while you were performing? Did diabetes come up with the judges or on the show? I'm sorry, I haven't got a chance to watch
Yeah.
yet, but I do wonder how just like having, diabetes is historically an invisible illness, but now with all the devices and everything, sometimes people just know. Did you have your devices out?
Totally. Yes, I did. For several performances, I had my devices out. And definitely, so in the San Diego audition, I had my Omnipod on my arm, and I was playing the keyboard, and it got so much traction and to my video, and people were commenting, and it was just amazing seeing all of the support. And so I showed it there, and then I also showed it for the Love of My Life performance by Queen at the CBS studios, and that was for, I believe, like the intro into the top 16. But I might be mistaken, or the top 12, but I think it's the top 16 performance. And I was wearing it also on the back of my arm, my Omnipod. And I'll never forget, there's this one moment in the performance of Love of My Life where I put my hands up like this, and they do this kind of 360 view of me, and my arm, my pump is just completely visible, and I'm just, my hands are open wide, and I'm just singing the song. And I'll never forget that moment. After that performance that night, I got hundreds of comments and emails and just direct messages, and just a flood of just people all over the world who saw the performance and were just inspired by seeing a type 1 diabetic on the stage, and following their dreams and pursuing their passion, and not letting it get in the way, and also not caring that their device is being shown on TV. And I just thought it was super cool, because sometimes silence is more powerful than just using words. And so I feel like when people just saw it with their own eyes and there was no explanation, they just knew, like, oh, she's a type 1 diabetic. And I got parents saying, my 4-year-old son was screaming in the TV because he saw someone like him wearing his Omnipod on his arm, and it made his day. And I got people saying, my daughter wants to be you now. She wants to be a singer, and you've really inspired her. So it was just really emotional for me seeing all of that, and it made me feel less alone too.
That's incredible. Wow. I mean, you probably changed some lives, David. That's really, really great. I wonder, with all of this being more prevalent and now all these little kids have a new person to look up to, is there anybody growing up that you looked up to with type 1 diabetes, or who are some of your type 1 role models?
For sure. Definitely. One big person that I always think about when I think of, who was my role model growing up is Nick Jonas, just because, he's a singer. He's doing kind of everything that I want to do. He has type 1 diabetes, and I actually went to one of his concerts when I was around 10 years old. And I actually was wearing my Beyond Type 1 hat. And I'm like, I follow Beyond Type 1. I know you're a part of that organization. And I gave him my little business card. I'm like, hey, follow me on Instagram, like little 10-year-old me. And he's like, okay. But he's someone that I've really looked up to. Also Esty Ham. I think she's another great artist who's, a musician, a singer, and she also has type 1. And there's just so many people who are so talented and, following their dreams with type 1.
Did you say that you had business cards when you were 10 years old?
Yes, I did. It was crazy. My mom, I begged her, I'm like, Mom, can I please get, a business card just to give out, when I do little open mics or something? And so she's like, okay, fine, we'll get you one. So we put this little picture on it, and I had all of my social medias attached on the back. And it was so funny now, like thinking back on it. I gave Nick Jonas my business card when I was 10.
No, that's great. I mean, you gotta hustle,
Yeah, totally.
See your name in there. It is funny, I've been working at Beyond Type 1 for 3 years now, and I remember when you were on The Voice,
wow.
hearing that you had already written something for Beyond Type 1, and so you've actually been kind of associated with and a fan of Beyond Type 1 longer than me. I think you were maybe 9 or 10 when you first wrote your article for the website, so that's just really incredible. I guess I would just ask, what's next for you? What are you going to do now? You've kind of been on are you going to go on another TV show? Any concerts planned? What do you have?
For sure. Yes, so the one thing I do have to say, I mean, I'm so just grateful where, that I got to, do that whole thing on American Idol, especially during COVID. And, making it into the top 10 was just so surreal, and it opened so many doors for me. And, I mean, basically all these things have, kind of happened so far that I can't really talk about yet, from American Idol. And I do have to say, I'm going to be releasing music very soon. I'm going to be getting in the studio. All of this exciting stuff has happened in such a short amount of time. So sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I've got a lot of stuff, in the works. Everything's cooking. It's happening. And I do have a few performances I'm going to be doing over the summer. And I'm also very grateful for that because of just COVID and everything. So it's like my first real show that I'm going to be doing in probably like a year and a half. And it's going to be on June 26th. And it's going to be in Laguna Beach. And on my Instagram, all of that jazz, in my bio, I have a link to the ticket link where you can buy your tickets. You can do all that stuff, get VIP, all that stuff. It's going to be super fun. And then I also have a performance in July, I believe. And I don't know the date yet, but it's going to be a big one. And it's going to be in front of this library where I live. And there's a lot of people who go to it. It's going to be fun.
That's so exciting. So you've got
Thank you.
YouTube, you've got an Instagram. Where else can
Yeah.
people find your music or follow you?
Yes. So I'm Ava August, no caps, no spaces, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, all that jazz, SoundCloud, Spotify. Also, I have a website, avaaugust.com. It has all my upcoming performances and the link to the tickets where you can buy them. And yeah, that's me, Ava August.
Every single social media ever invented. If you look up Ava August, you'll probably be able to find her.
Exactly.
Great. I just want to close. I've got one final question, which is, for everybody watching today, people are watching at home, some with their parents and caregivers. What advice would you give to somebody growing up with diabetes about, if they want to achieve a dream like music, or if they just want to kind of live, life, go to college, do whatever? What words do you have to close out today?
For sure. Closing out today, I would definitely say the one biggest piece of advice I would give to other people with type 1 and just other people in general is, if there's anything that you have, holding you back from something or you feel that way, don't let it win. And there are people out there, just like Beyond Type 1 and the American Diabetes Association and this camp that you can talk to, who can relate to what you're going through. And there's always people, even if you feel alone, and I think we've all been there before, where we feel like, I'm the only one struggling with this and fighting this battle on a day-to-day basis, and you're not. And that's the one thing to remember. You're not alone. And if you ever need to talk to someone or to me, never hesitate to reach out to me on my Instagram or social medias. I'm here to talk. And other people are here, and just know there's always support behind you. Even when it feels like there isn't, there always are people there supporting you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I couldn't say it better myself. I think that's a perfect place to end. So
thank you.
Thank you, Ava, and thank you everybody
so
for watching and tuning in today. We hope you're enjoying Imagine Camps, and stay tuned for more Imagine Spotlights. We're going to be here every week as part of the ADA and Beyond Type 1 collab. So thanks again, and bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, you guys.